Kevin, on today's expose, we're going to talk about Mother Righteous, and we're going to talk about a long-standing mystery that nobody knew was a mystery until recently. Mind blown. Have you ever wondered why Mister Sinister has a diamond on his forehead?
Yes, please. Always.
So it turns out way back in, I believe, like 1898 or sometime way back in the winds. And we'll get into this more later, but this is just a piece of the puzzle. Mister Sinister, the original, was like, motherfucker, people are building these machines. Machines are the devil. He's like, I've seen Terminator in the future, so I know what machines are going to do to society. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to create 4 clones. I'm going to create 3 clones of me and 1 additional clone who are going to work separately. They won't even know about each other to figure out how to bring down the machines. So he makes Dr. Stasis, which basically looks like Mister Sinister, only he has a club symbol on his forehead. Yeah. And Dr. Stasis has the purpose of kind of working with technology to defeat technology. And what's interesting with him, this is going to be a long expose, I can tell you that right now, because I'm going to be talking about 4 characters. What's interesting with him is he kind of remembers what Apocalypse did to him, which we'll talk about. So he hates mutants because of Apocalypse. So he is working currently with Orcus to bring down mutants. There's also Orbis Stellaris, which is another clone that, ironically enough, has kind of melded with machines, and he is wanting to explore how to bring down machines through space. So he eventually kind of teams up with Sword to investigate the spaciness of things. The third clone of Mister Sinister, I always forget this one's name, is Mister Sinister. So he actually did clone himself, and that clone is set to continue his work in cloning. Cloning the ultimate mutant power to fight off machines. So that's where we get Mister Sinister. The last clone is the most interesting to me because it's not a clone of Mister Sinister. It's a clone of his wife, Rebecca Essex, who has a heart on her head. Oh yeah, so Orbis Stellaris has the spade, and then Mister Sinister, of course, has the diamond.
Yeah.
Rebecca has kind of this fuchsia, magenta-looking skin. She has the heart. Also, the reason I love her is she's very much like an Emma / Mystique character. She's really bitchy, but she's also helped the mutants, but she's also helped Orcus. So she's kind of like her own mystery. But she also studies magic. So with you and me being into witches and witchcraft and things like that, automatically I'm like, my ears are like, hello, Woo! Sexy woman who practices magic.
Who are you? Tell me more.
Yes. She first appeared as Mother Righteous in Legion of X #1 in May of 2022. The character she's based on, Rebecca Essex, first appeared in The Further Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix in 1996. So we're going to see more about Further Adventures as we talk about this episode, because it's mostly based on that, Kevin.
Yes, and you have to tell me at the end, because I have thoughts about this episode, and I don't know if any of them are true or make any sense, but yeah.
I will. We'll save it towards the end.
Yeah. Okay.
I go where I want to go. Jean.
Scott.
Jean?
Scott! I summon the Arctic winds.
No more mutants!
I summon the Arctic winds.
No more mutants!
I summon the Arctic winds.
No more mutants! There's always more gators in the mine.
Don't get a boomer.
Welcome to this week's Solving for X. My name is Shawn. I'm the ultimate excavationist.
And I'm something of an X fan myself, Kevin!
Yay! And it's crazy.
Yay.
about 2 years ago, we set out to watch every single episode of the original X-Men series, and here we are. Only one more left.
Yeah. Yeah. So we talked about it 2 years ago, but when did we start this podcast? Has it even been a year?
Let's find out, girl. I think it has been over a
'Cause
year.
I'm curious.
Let's find out, though. Let's find out.
I think we started when we started the comics, and it's been we started the comics on Words of the Witches about a little over a year ago.
Okay.
So, I think we started this. We started this in I'm trying to think, September. Did we start this in September?
I want to say it was soon because I went to WonderCon, which was
August?
I think in April, and we started it right after.
Oh. April. You're right. April 22.
Hey, that's my birthday.
Yeah, so that's when we started.
That
So
was
yeah,
April 28th of 22. Yep.
so almost 2 years, a little under 2 years.
Crazy.
That's so crazy.
Yes. All right, let's get some business out of the way, and then we'll get into our episode Descent. So we asked, which New Mutant do you like the most? Do you have any idea who won out of Cannonball, Sunspot, Wolfsbane, or Magic?
I know Magic got a ton. I'm sure that's probably the favorite. I'm sure it's probably Magic, between Magic and Cannonball are the tops, I would say.
So in last place, we had a tie, Wolfsbane and Sunspot, and technically it rounded. So like Wolfsbane got 9% and Sunspot got 10%, but they had the same amount of votes.
Okay.
Cannonball got 19% of the votes. So you could tell with that only being about 40% of the votes, Magic got 62% of the votes. Everybody loves them some Magic, just like me. She's amazing.
Exactly how I was anticipating it, And I love Magic too. It's not as like if I wasn't trying to be inclusive of everybody, I probably would have said her too. But I'm like, I'm gonna go for an underdog, an under werewolf, under Wendigo.
She's a werewolf. She's more werewolf.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and it's hard because I do really like Cannonball, Sunspot, and Magic. Wolfsbane, she's very much, and not to like take away from anybody who's religious, but she's very like an ugly type of religious for a lot of her life in the comics, where like religion kind of affects her in a negative way, and she's very judgy of other people because of it. So that's why I don't like her as much.
Oh, that's true. That is true. I forgot about that part. She's very like, oh, I love my Jesus.
Yeah. and nothing against that. It's just when you start looking down on other people because they're not the same, it's where I get turned off.
It's problematic. Yeah, for sure.
All right, but let's talk Descent. So this aired September 6, 1997. It actually aired only a year after Further Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix came out. So it's a pretty quick turnaround.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
And written by Stephen Melching and David McDermott. So I'm thinking, I'm going to put this in your head now. There's two things I really hate about this episode. I'm going to have you guess at the end. I'm going to try not to give it away.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Now I'm mad that I didn't look harder. Because I'm like, I watched this on my lunch break today. So I was eating lunch and watching it like, ooh, and so I'm going to be mad that I'm going to miss it probably. But it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. Whatever.
It's fine. We'll have you guess at the end. And yeah, this is something I told you kind of offline. Like sometimes these episodes I remember more generally, so I don't remember all the details. So yeah, I remembered this episode generally. Like I remembered it was about Sinister and went back to the past. I didn't remember everything that happened beat by beat. So we'll talk about it though and how it compares to Further Adventures because I just read all 4 of those in the last 2 days, so we could talk about it.
Woohoo! Yeah.
All right. Big Ben strikes midnight in the heart of London. Random
I was
wonder.
looking for Peter Pan. I didn't see him.
Right? They should have done that.
I'm like,
pizza! Random wanderers wander the streets wonderingly. One nice-looking lady is stalked by a madman with glowing eyes. The madman, who we shall call Jack, seems to like to riff things. Her scream is heard in the distance as the man overtakes her. He then runs off. I'm laughing because I read this review about a quick little part of this review where it was talking about how the 90s cartoons couldn't say kill and couldn't show anybody get killing. So it was like by using Jack the Ripper, it looks like he just jumps out and scares people.
That's pretty much what it is. Boo. And I kept thinking of Morbius.
Yeah. That's funny.
I'm like, this is like the Morbius movie.
Yeah.
But you're right, because even Power Rangers couldn't say kill. It was only the recent new, was it the 25th anniversary special or 30th anniversary special, where they actually said the word kill, and that was like, whoa, they said the word kill.
Wow.
Crazy.
It's too much for kids.
So that was a whole big deal. I know.
The man overtakes her. He then runs off. He runs into a gaily clad genteel before running off once more into the night.
We are in London in 1888. At an inspector's office, Dr. Xavier is trying to convince the inspector that a man in his 60s, Nathaniel Essex, is behind the Whitechapel killings. Xavier reveals that Nathaniel isn't human. He's been trafficking him for half his life, which obviously makes him the Essex authority.
So I'll tell you right now, the biggest difference between this episode and the comic is Jack the Ripper is not anywhere in the comic.
Oh, wow.
The comic.
So what do you think made them choose to use him?
Well, the comic only takes place in 1859, so there's none of this like 1888 look back. So I wonder if they decided to do this to make it narratively like easier for kids to understand. And so maybe and
and I was thinking, this whole premise, I feel like a lot of this went over kids' heads. It's very, mature. A lot of concepts that I don't think kids would get just watching this episode,
Yeah, I don't think as a kid I ever realized like this is straight up Jack the Ripper, and like they're kind of saying that Sinister
Charles
created
Darwin
him.
And
yeah. I know. I think last week I said Sigmund Freud's in this episode, so I lied. It was Charles Darwin. I got the last old school scholar. Yeah, so that's a big difference, and yeah, that is pretty brave for them to throw Jack the Ripper in a children's cartoon.
Yeah. So he doesn't exist in the comics at all. It was just all for this episode.
I mean, I can't say if he's been in the comics or not. I don't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, in the further adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, he's not in it at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Did you recognize Dr. James Xavier's voice?
I absolutely did.
It was Cedric Smith! Yay!
Yeah. It makes sense if he's like your ancestor. He's like, I'm Professor Xavier with an even Britishier voice.
Yeah, and more hair.
Yeah, a more British voice.
Oh, I didn't tell everybody. Kevin, quick detour. I went to Target yesterday. You already know this. And I was like, I'm going to do Cyclops justice. I'm going to go back and I'm going to buy that Cyclops figure. So I looked, and one Cyclops figure was $10.99. But for $44.99, you get Cyclops,
get the whole set.
Wolverine, Rogue, Gambit, and Storm.
I was like, hell yeah. I was like, that was such a cool picture. I was like, ah!
Yeah, I totally bought it. I have them all standing in front of my the pins that Disney put out. I have them standing in front of their respective pins.
Nice. Beautiful.
What sold it for me is the Rogue and Storm toys. They're just so beautiful. Like, Gambit looks pretty good, too. Wolverine looks like he has no neck. He's like, hey, bub.
But they're much better than the pins, right? Remember that fugly Rogue pin? Ooh.
Yeah. I know. That was hideous. We went to the employee store, and they had so many of just Rogue. None of the other ones, just Rogue. They could not sell that Rogue. The chase continues outside as the killer flees from the police. A horse carriage gets in the way of the police, and they lose track of Jack. So,
track of Jack.
I had the pleasure of pausing it right here because I needed to like write something, and I was like, "What kind of straight up porno?"
Well, police getting on each other on top of a vehicle. What is this? A carriage?
That's like the carriage driver, and yeah, it looks like the one
Yeah,
police is
yeah.
like kissing
It's
him, and the
topping
other's
him.
like pile driving
Yeah.
the other one in the ass, and the other one's getting on top.
Yeah.
So I have to
That's
remember to
beautiful.
post this.
Post that for sure.
Yeah.
James Xavier and the investigator are in a horse-drawn carriage together. They regale each other with tiny tidbits about Nathaniel Essex. Do you remember this? I do. Do you remember this? Tee, too funny. Xavier recants a story about Essex that begins in the year of our Lord. Yeah, they're so religious in this place.
Yeah.
1859. The tale goes as follows.
Yes.
I won't say anymore.
So this is where everything from 1859 is based on the further adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix. Everything in 1888 is completely made up for this episode.
Wow.
For better or worse. All right, the tale goes as follows. Essex was obsessed with the teachings of Charles Darwin, which I fucking love. Peter Milligan is the one who wrote Further Adventures. I love that he set this within this time period with Charles Darwin, because Sinister is very about like on the lines of apocalypse, survival of the fittest, and making the strongest. So of course he would be inspired directly by Darwin.
Mm-hmm.
Essex was good friends with both Lord Grey and his wife. Oh, his daughter. His daughter.
Yeah.
I put wife. His daughter.
Who is, yeah. That's because it's his own wife. His daughter
Yes.
is his wife.
Yeah. Lord Grey's daughter is
Well, his daughter is
Essex's wife.
His daughter is Essex's wife, yeah.
Yes.
Because just me, his and hims, yeah.
Yeah. And James Xavier. So he's friends with them all. So Essex had become obsessed with Darwin's origin of species theories. Essex theorizes with Darwin that mankind should be in line for their next evolution very soon, but no one agrees with him. I'm trying to think of how much I should tell you now. I'll leave it. We'll get there.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you this much. James Xavier was also not in the comic. So this was their little winky, nudge, nudge, like, hey, look, somebody else was there.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, it's interesting. Is this where they're, like, Darwin is doing his presentation, the class? Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, he's saying, like, you know, they're all talking about natural selection and things like that, and, you know, for survival of the fittest, and, you know, don't you think mankind, you know, can become gods and greater? And it's like, well, you're still, you know, this, it's every man for himself, so, you know, and don't go too far, but lots of concepts.
Yeah, and I love more than anything that when Xavier's speaking, the two men behind him are asleep.
Boring.
Boring. Why are you even there?
Yeah. My teacher's making me come to this.
Yeah.
All right. At Darwin's presentation, as Darwin's presentation lets out, Essex catches up with Darwin to discuss his theories further. Essex reveals that he has been experimenting on his own and has irrefutable evidence of a new mutation in humankind. Darwin warns Essex to keep his theories tight-lipped, since it is a bad time to be a free thinker. Oh, yeah, it's very dangerous. Just then, Xavier walks up. Xavier is introduced as a family practitioner to Grey Hall. Grey, Grey, Grey. Xavier tells Darwin his theory of natural selection and how it goes against the Bible. Oh, yeah, so all these, the Bible people, yeah.
Yeah.
Ronnie St. Clair, Rain St. Clair. You know why I always say Ronnie? Because when I first started reading those books, I saw like R-A-H-N-E. I'm like, oh, that must be Ronnie. And so I still say it like that in my brain, even though I know it's wrong.
Yeah, I used to, with Sync, I used to say cinch when I was younger.
Okay, yeah.
So I have weird little ones like that.
Yeah. Darwin coughs and excuses himself with his entourage. Essex tells Xavier that Rebecca has gotten worse and asks him to come by to check on her.
I'm remaining calm. Later that evening,
There's so many things going
so many
on.
things. Essex, Darwin, Lord Grey, and Xavier sit down to sup. This really made me want to use fun verbiage and language because we're in 1888
Yes.
or 1859 London. So. Suddenly, Essex grows angry with Xavier. He feels Xavier has no idea what is wrong with Rebecca. Lord Grey agrees with Xavier that Essex's methods are crude, but he is the only thing that brings Rebecca happiness anymore. This was very strange to me that Essex just suddenly went off the rails. There wasn't a lot of preparation.
I know, what? I was like, geez, it wasn't that serious.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm sorry. It's just going through a lot. And then I understand. Yeah, your wife is sick. It's okay. But then he goes away, and then Xavier's like, that man is crazy.
Yeah.
We have to, so it's kind of funny.
She cray, girl.
We need to get him under control. Too funny. All right. Upstairs, Rebecca lay Aurora style in her grand rich people bed. I kept thinking of Dracula.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm what's her Mina or whatever. Oh, I'm so tired. Don't bite me. Oh.
Is that Dracula
Essex-
dead and loving it?
Yeah, maybe. I could be. I love Dracula down. But yeah, she's in there, her grand bed, and she's like, "Are you gonna take a sample of my blood?" See, he takes her blood.
Yep.
Oh, it says right here. Essex comes to her side. He tells her that he needs another blood sample, and she's like, "Am I your wife or your guinea pig?" I was like, "Ooh."
Yeah.
He's like both, but he didn't say that to her. But
yeah, it was implied.
Yeah.
Fun fact, there is a period in Mr. Sinister's life where people nickname him Nosferatu because he has pale white skin and he's creepy and yeah, he takes blood.
Yeah. And red eyes.
Yeah. Rebecca's voice is uncredited, but I would bet you money that's Catherine Disher who voices Jean.
Oh my gosh. I thought that was on purpose. I
Yeah.
knew it was Jean right away. I thought that was on purpose because she's Grey. She's a descendant of Grey. It means, we have Xavier doing the past Xavier. It won't make sense that she would do the past.
Yeah,
Whatever,
it makes sense. I just don't
Jean.
know why they wouldn't just credit it though. This is one of your regulars,
Yeah.
so why would you not give her? They gave credit to Xavier and they gave credit to Sinister's Christopher Britton, who it's interesting to hear
strange.
his voice without any tampering because the Sinister he has that metallic sound.
Yeah, right. That's true.
Later, Essex goes to his lab to see what's on the slab. He hid his lab in an asylum on West End. I thought that was so funny, adding that it's on West End, because I'm like, this man is so gay. He has to be on West End to get to the musicals.
Right. I gotta see 6. Come on, let's go.
Come on, let's get this cloning over. I gotta get to 6, bitch. Singing on the Rain. I saw Singing in the Rain on West End. That was fun.
Nice.
Because I'm that gay. Someone knocks on the door. Xavier's voiceover tells us that Essex would pay people to help him seek out wayward test subjects. Xavier tells of a day him and Darwin went to see Essex unveil his research. Essex introduces them to Fuente, a man of tomorrow. Fuente shows his control over electromagnetics. The group doesn't seem impressed. Essex shows off Mr. Flannery next with his power to boil water. Darwin gets mad. She ain't impressed. Darwin gets up and leaves with his entourage. Essex swears that he will find proof of this God theory. The God people are coming.
So, okay. So why is Darwin, does he not believe that these are, powers? He thinks he's, doing, trickery?
Yeah, so Darwin says, I will not be brought in by your parlor tricks. So he doesn't believe they're actually being caused by these men.
Wow.
Which, by the way, I know it's weird to say this, but I'm going to say it. Fuente's fucking hot. I know he's a cartoon man, but he's hot. I like his style. I like his little, like, mustache thing. He can get it. He could electromagnetics anytime.
Let me see, and this, I'm going to put it out right now. When people get mad at people for being attracted to comic book characters or animated characters, I'm like, come on, we can tell if something is drawn sexily. They do that on purpose. So it's like, yes, you can be attracted to animated characters. It doesn't mean that you're like, I don't know, fetishizing it. You know, it just seems weird. Like, of course, we know when attractive people are supposed to be attractive people.
Yeah, exactly. And like, there's certain aspects that they draw that we like to see. If it were a real person, I would like if they had like that kind of mustache.
It's not like you're going to take a real person and try to make them look animated. Now that's different. That's creepy. But
that's creepy. I've seen that.
Yeah. So it's not that. It just means you recognize, you know, what they're going for. You know.
Mm-hmm.
There.
Thank you.
It's still down. Yes. All right. We are back in 1888, where Xavier and the inspector are seen exiting the carriage. They enter a nearby building where the inspector stops dead in his tracks. Xavier has brought him to a mangled body. It has been experimented on. It was creepy. It was like this white hand, like almost like falling apart, like dead skin. Like, I don't like it. Xavier tells him it is the work of Essex. He tells the inspector to come with him now to Mansell Street to stop the most diabolical man this world has ever known. The inspector agrees to go to Mansell Street. Xavier continues his titillating tale of terror. Ooh, the alliteration.
You're welcome. Back in 1859, in the past, at the lab of a certain Mr. Essex, Xavier reveals that Essex had been ousted from the Royal Society. He became even more reclusive and obsessive with his work. Rumors began to circulate that Essex was doing strange, ungodly experiments. So I have trouble with this because there's a character in Electronic Talking Clue. I know I talk about it all the time, but I fucking love that game.
Oh, yeah.
His name is Lord Grey. So when I read Lord Grey, I want to say like the game. Lord Grey. Lord Grey distanced himself from Essex, but Rebecca's health only got worse. Essex still sought to cure Rebecca, but his fascination with mutants grew more and more. We see him make a discovery. Essex gets his mad scientist laugh house down boots. I wrote that.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
The sex is in the heel.
I know what that is.
Thank you, Kinky Boots. Yes.
I love that show.
Musicals. Oh, the musicals this episode. All right. Outside. Well, it is British. There you go. British. That's a connection.
Oh, there you go. And I'm really excited because last night Alan and I went musical obsessed crazy. We're watching Waitress in theaters on Thursday. They recorded a stage show of it. And then we bought tickets to see A Christmas Story, the musical, next week. And we bought tickets to see Lion King in February because I've never seen Lion King. I'm the only person left on this face of the earth.
No, I never seen it either.
You too? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You see everything. I mostly just listen to soundtracks. So,
okay.
But I have seen Waitress live, and Waitress live is it's amazing. So.
I've heard it's really good. I'm excited to see it, even though it's just recorded.
It's one of my favorites.
Ooh.
Yeah. And Sarah Bareilles, and I love Sarah Bareilles, and she wrote the music, and it's so good. Okay. Anyway, tangent. Sorry. Outside, the storm rages on, but not that storm. Essex does a Frankenstein-level experiment and drinks his own potion. Jekyll, Jekyll, Hyde, Jekyll, Hyde, Hyde, Jekyll. His skin instantly turns white. Ooh, nothing else much happens besides Essex saying he feels better. I feel better now. A man awaits his fate. Oh, that was Sixth Sense. Like, where do I know that from? I feel better now.
I feel better now.
The OC chick. A man awaits his fate while he is strapped into a nearby gurney. Essex begins to rant to the man and burns his finger. it heals instantly. He's like, oh, look at that.
Ooh.
I was being an idiot, but it doesn't matter because I'm smart.
Yeah, because they heal anyway. Ha! Back at the Gray Manor, Rebecca's health seems to have taken a turn for the better. Xavier looks at her in wonder. Rebecca begins giggling. He told me not to tell you. She tells them that Essex has been giving her secret treatments, but told her not to tell anyone. This enrages Lord Grey. As Xavier and Grey leave Rebecca's room, Grey asks Xavier to speak to Essex to find out what he did to Rebecca.
If she turns into a vampire, it's all your fault.
Yeah.
All right. 14. Xavier goes to Essex. This is hard to say sometimes. Essex's lab to confront him. A very pale and immaculately dressed Essex opens the door. Look at me. Essex tells Xavier he is no longer a doctor. Xavier tells Essex that the Royal Society speaks about sinister experiments that Essex does behind closed doors. Essex seems to like Essex seems to like this use of the word. He's like, sinister. I'll have to remember that when I'm knighted by the Queen, or whatever. Essex leads Xavier further into the asylum. He shows Xavier a group of people locked in prison cells. Xavier gets mad at Essex for treating people this way. He's like, not even an animal deserves to be treated like this. I'm like, oh. Like,
Not
okay.
even an animal.
Not even an animal. It just seems kind of like animalist. Animist, I don't know. Just not caring for animals.
It's giving me very Wicked vibes. So there, another musical.
Yeah. Oh, see?
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Gentleman, if something bad is happening to the animals, we have to tell the wizard. That's why we have a wizard. So nothing bad.
You're welcome.
All right.
Angry, Xavier pushes Essex and grabs his keys. He goes to open the cell gates. Essex overpowers Xavier from behind. The two lock into mortal combat. As they fight, the keys fall into reach of a prisoner. Another prisoner uses his power to help move the keys. The prisoners escape as Xavier and Essex continue to fight. Essex easily dispatches Xavier and chases his experiments into the night.
So these were all mutants that were already mutants that Essex captured and is just like drawing blood from, or did he like make their powers advance?
Unclear.
Advance?
I couldn't tell if if they're hinting that he's creating mutants or if he's just experimenting on already established mutants.
Yeah, because that was my question. Because at first I thought he was like giving them the powers. I'm like, so did he create the mutants? Like, hold like research, like big population growth. But maybe but then again, like, how would he find them out of nowhere if he?
Yeah,
I was just grabbing people and giving them powers.
I was kind of thinking it must be him giving them powers because he's paying people to like come to him or to bring people to him, so he's probably giving them the powers.
Yeah.
Huh.
So interesting.
Yeah. And more on that in a little while. It does have really big implications.
Yeah. All right. Who is it?
You, 16.
Me, 16. Outside, the prisoners are called abominations by passers-by. As the police try to contain them, the mutates use their powers to escape capture. Inside a nearby church, Xavier finds Mr. Flannery praying to God. Xavier tells him that all creatures under God are loved. James tells Flannery he wants to help him, and Flannery accepts. I actually was getting kind of teary-eyed here, not because of the religious thing, but because of who Flannery was. You know, he took the money. He was struggling with his family. He wanted to get his family out and protected, and he did this to support them, and it ends up being a tragedy. it's like I felt very sad for him. So
Yeah, that's true. And just the fact that no questions
he's
asked.
struggling with this.
Yeah, no questions asked to Xavier's like, I accept you for who you are. You deserve protection. Like, I think that's the kind of compassion that can turn somebody around and make them not want to live the life they were. So this speaks volumes for the Xavier line.
It's a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
So good job, show.
You're a beautiful scene.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Xavier and Flannery exit the church to find the village people outside. The village people. I just realized I wrote that.
YMCA. It's fantastic.
Those guys have been around forever.
Gaze till the end in the West End.
Yeah. To find the village people outside, still on the hunt for any of the mutates. As they approach, Xavier tells the townspeople that Flannery is different, but that doesn't make him a monster. Xavier turns everyone's attention to Essex. Someone scratches Essex, but Nathaniel heals instantly and everyone witnesses it. Essex accidentally lets loose a power blast, and he makes a run for it. So now everybody knows he's the monster. Which, I mean, he's pale fucking white. Like, nobody's that white.
Right. White. And this is the part that confused me because, I thought Sinister was giving them the powers, but then Xavier's like, he was born with it.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
And so that's why I'm like, yeah. So it was just very sloppy or confusing, or I don't know,
Maybe, I guess we could headcanon that maybe Sinister's running experiments on people to see if they have, like, what he calls the Essex gene. But even then, it's like, it should be rare. That's why it's not everybody using it back then.
Yeah. And it was like, how many, because it doesn't have, like, a big selection of people. It's like people who come to him. It's not like he's like, oh, not you. Next,
Yeah.
So, yeah. So just kind of up in the air a little bit.
Yeah.
18?
18.
Essex storms, but not that one, through Grey Hall and finds his way to Rebecca's side. He tells her they must flee at once. Essex's glasses fall off, revealing his glowing red eyes. Rebecca screams and is disgusted with what Nathaniel has done to himself. Get away from me! She runs away. As the townspeople approach, Essex leaps from the window and rides a horse away from Grey Hall.
So dramatic. Always putting on a show.
Yeah.
Some townspeople follow the fleeing Nathaniel into the forest as the others stay behind and destroy his lab and notes. They set the asylum on fire. James reveals he found Essex's... It's like that scene in The Producers. Yes. He found Essex's journal, but nothing more. Or it's not his journal, really. It's the copy of
It's
Origin
the
of
book that
Species.
got signed. Yeah.
Essex continued to work on his mutant experiments. The mutates escaped into the sewers, Kevin. What are mutants doing in the sewers?
Morlocks and Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. Yes. But poor Rebecca never spoke again.
She's gone mute. A mutant.
If I can't be a mutant, I'll be mute.
Be mute. All right. Xavier went on to travel the world in search of Essex, but never could quite catch up to him. He began chronicling the experiments done by Essex. Eventually, Xavier's searchers brought him back to London. Xavier walks in just in time to miss Jack the Ripper speaking to Essex, who now wants to be called Mister Sinister. Sinister had created Jack to do his bidding. Aha. See? Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay.
And this outfit Sinister's just wearing is so amazing. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's pretty full.
It is reminiscent of what he wears in the comics for that time period. So I like that they added that little... You look familiar.
Yeah, it's like... It's familiar, but different enough to be like, ooh. I like your style.
Yeah. As Sinister laughingly escapes on a boat, we see Xavier picking up the copy of Origin of the Species that Sinister had left him. Xavier says he'll probably never stop Sinister in his lifetime, but he prays someone else can. Winky face. In present day, we see
Lightning
Charles
flash,
Xavier.
bang, flash, the
Bang,
lightning crash.
crash.
And here we go.
Here we go. We see Charles Xavier tucking away the book handed down to him. He is the next hope to stop the corrupt Sinister.
So, because Xavier was looking very like determined, like he knows something. What is he thinking? Was he dreaming this all, or what does he know?
Yeah, that's a little unclear to me too, because he doesn't seem to know who Sinister is when they first met, but then he has this book that links him to it, so that's a little weird.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the way he was sitting there, he's like, something is on my mind, you know?
Unless, I mean, headcanon, we could say maybe he didn't connect that Nathaniel Essex was Sinister until later, after he met Mr. Sinister.
And maybe he just got, because in his dream, maybe he got some kind of telepathic, like, spark or some kind of bit of knowledge that just, like, scared him or intrigued him, you know?
Yeah. And it's interesting because I remember when they announced X-Men 97 and that Sinister would be kind of the overarching bad. I remember reading somebody like say, well, duh, he got a whole episode devoted to his origin. Of course he's going to be the big bad.
Yeah.
I think what this does too, I mean, of course we would need more information, but it does link Professor X to Mr. Sinister like we did with Magneto in the beginning of the series. So it is a good jumping off point for Sinister being the bad. The only thing being Magneto takes over the X-Men, so it's not so much Sinister and Xavier. It would be passed down to his students.
Yeah. And were these people were these ancestors of our characters, or it was like past lives of these characters? Is that clear?
I'm assuming in the show that, Xavier is a descendant. Well, we know that one. I'm assuming the Greys are where Jean Grey's from also.
Okay, cool. That's what I was thinking. Good.
Could you think of two things that I hated about this episode?
Oh my gosh. What's his face's hair?
Okay. Oh, Xavier.
Yeah, because there's like the two versions. There's the one Xavier that's okay looking, but there's the one that's like bald, but like has weird patches of hair on the side.
Yeah.
That was not a good look.
No.
So that's one I think I hated. I know that much. But no, I can't.
Okay. Well, let's go into our ratings of the episode: extreme, expected, or X out, and kind of how we felt, and then I'll get into like the comics and what I think worked well and what I think didn't work well in this episode.
Okay. I'm gonna extreme it. I thought it was super good. I mean, it's great to get a backstory, but it's definitely more mature than I think a lot of the episodes have been, especially this later season. And yeah, it takes some critical thinking, and I liked there was pretty power, like that whole church scene with Flannery. I thought it was super powerful and super emotional, and there's a lot of really nice things happening. I thought for sure it was like, I kept thinking about the comics, like what the comics would have been like. I imagine them being a lot darker, of like a lot more morbid things probably happened in them.
Yeah.
For some reason, I imagined that Rebecca died, but I guess that's not the case because, of course, she could always come back to life. But for some reason, I thought she probably died and mutated really bad and, something. But yeah, just lots of trauma and torture and evilness in the comics.
Okay. So I landed on expected, and the only reason why, because I do really like this episode, I thought about giving it extreme, but there's two things that I really hate about it that ruin it for me. One thing is I try not to compare it to the comic too much because I love the way Sinister turns in the comic. But in the show, the fact that he like drinks a potion and doesn't even like retch or anything, he just like changes right then and there as he's like walking.
Yeah, and he looks in the mirror, he's like, hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
There's like no reaction whatsoever. Yeah,
like
you're right.
there's no weight to it. And I'm like, this is a huge moment. Like he just created his own like type of thing, and it's just kind of like, oh yeah, I'm white now. I feel better. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that was very odd.
So that, and I also, this is not in the comic, and I really hate the idea of Mister Sinister or Nathaniel being married to a descendant of Jean Grey. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Oh,
The reason I hate it is I feel like it changes the lore. I feel like he would be more obsessed with Jean than he is. Like, because we know Sinister's obsessed with Cyclops, and he only brings Jean along because she's powerful, but he's really into the Summers line. So I feel like
yeah.
subconsciously or through memory, he would always be obsessed with Jean as a descendant of Rebecca. So I just don't like that they did that.
That
for
would
this
change
episode.
things altogether. Yeah, if anything, he'd try to be like take Cyclops' place.
Yeah.
And like get him out of the way instead of being obsessed with everything that he does. Like your brothers, I need your brothers. I need you. I need everything about you because I love you. I'm in love.
Yeah. So I just, yeah, it doesn't work for me. Rebecca is like not related to anyone in the comics, so that's kind of their own way of.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody complained like they were like, I know that not everybody's gonna always be related to everybody, but I know that's how comics are. But this just seems a little on the nose that like there's so much going on. All right, so let me give you. I'll try to keep this like as concise as possible because this was a 4-parter. But the reason I love this comic, Further Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, is this is a sequel to The Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, where they're sent to the future to raise Nathan, who of course was the baby that Mister Sinister brought into being by cloning Jean and having Scott fuck her, basically.
Yeah.
So what I really like about this is the first comic barely has Scott and Jean in it. It's really all about Nathaniel at that point. And you're right, it is very dark because him and Rebecca have a baby, Adam. Adam dies at a young as a baby, he dies. And Nathaniel gets obsessed with like, I need to figure out why Adam died. I want to like cure death. I want to make sure this doesn't happen again, to the point where like he's pulling away from Rebecca, and Rebecca digs up Adam's grave because she kind of already knows that like Nathaniel's been experimenting on his dead son. Like that's so fucking dark. Of course, it's not going to make it into the show, but Scott and Jean come in at the end of the first comic because the clan of Scanny were like, dude, Apocalypse is going to rise in this time and you need to stop him. If somebody doesn't stop him, he's going to take over the world. So I already love this concept that it's Apocalypse. So Apocalypse comes back and he's got this really cool like form. It's not the Apocalypse we know. He's got these long fingers. He looks more Egyptian. It's just one of the versions of him because as we know, he can like die and be reborn and change his shape. So in his wanderings, Mister Sinister or Nathaniel, I'm trying not to call him Sinister yet. Nathaniel is attacked by a group of men who call themselves the Marauders. So I love that little Easter egg. And he takes over the Marauders. He tells the Marauders to bring him like test subjects. And so the Marauders come across Apocalypse and they tell him, oh, you're obsessed with like mutation. You're obsessed with like evolution. We have just the person for you. So Apocalypse takes the guise of an Egyptian traveler, so he looks normal, and he meets Essex, and of course the two like start to get along great because they're both all about evolution. So what ends up happening is when Scott finds out that Essex is Sinister, because he didn't know yet at this point, Scott gets obsessed with, if we kill Sinister now, he won't experiment on my family. He'll leave us alone. We won't have all these issues. And I love this parallel that Jean makes because Jean is like, Nathaniel just lost his son just like you lost Cable. So he's going through all the grief that you went through. And Scott's kind of like, yeah, but he did this to me. He took Cable away from me. Like, he's the reason all this happened. And then Jean's like, but if you change the past, he will never have made Madeline, who will never have given birth to Nathaniel, and then there will be no reason for us to come here. So it's all very cyclical, which I really like.
Yeah. Wow.
So then Apocalypse is really like vibing with Essex. So eventually he's like, let me give you more power. So Apocalypse is the one who actually turns Essex into Mister Sinister. And I just love that concept too. I remember when I first read that, my mind was blown. I was like, my two favorite villains are like intertwined. This is amazing.
So no Jekyll Hyde craziness, just, it makes much more sense with Apocalypse. I mean, I guess, Essex is a scientist. I guess he could have done it, but I like it better the comic way.
Yeah, and I mean, my theory would be they may not have done that because they've already established, like, Sinister worked with Apocalypse in Beyond Good and Evil, so there's no animosity between them. Maybe they just didn't think they had time to get into that, or maybe they didn't want to try to explain why they didn't try to kill each other. But I still think it leads more. Like, I wish they at least hinted at it, or, like, just showed it real quick and said, even if Apocalypse just said, one day if you step out of line, I'll destroy you. And then that could, explain away the whole thing.
I mean, Sinister could either feel indebted to Apocalypse, or, afraid because he knows he has superior power to him. So, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because what happens is the way that Jean and Scott decide to try to defeat Apocalypse is through Sinister. Because Apocalypse employs Sinister. I kind of talked about this on Words yesterday. Apocalypse tells Sinister to make a plague to kill a big chunk of humanity. So Scott and Jean go to Sinister and they're like, you don't want to do this. Like, think about Rebecca. Think of your son. Think about this, that. So they end up getting through to Sinister, and Sinister puts the disease into Apocalypse. And so Apocalypse is greatly weakened by this, and he has to go back into slumber. So by showing compassion, they actually turn Sinister to be somewhat good in that moment and stop Apocalypse that way.
Wow.
But Rebecca did die in episode 3. She got pregnant with the second baby, and she lost the baby in childbirth, and she was so distraught by it that she died. And her dying breath, I love this so much. I love it more than what the show did. Her dying breath was to tell Nathaniel that he's become Sinister. So that's where he gets the name.
It comes from his own wife.
Yeah. And they did this kind
of... So
how
is she brought back from... Because this new character is her, right?
Well, Mother Righteous is a clone of her. So he took some of her cells and cloned her.
Gotcha, okay.
But they did do one thing that doesn't fit as well canonically now with the Mother Righteous being there. But they show in the comic that Sinister has a locket that he carried with him since being Essex. And when he becomes Sinister, he realizes, I have no humanity left. When I think of Rebecca, I don't feel anything. And eventually he drops the locket in the end and lets it get washed away to the wayside. So obviously there is a piece of him that still loves Rebecca. So he was lying to himself.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So much nuance.
Yeah. And I didn't even talk about this. Oh my God. Craziness. So Scott and Jean had saved a little boy named Daniel, I think his name was. Let me see. I have it in my notes.
Daniel Summers.
They saved Daniel.
Okay.
And you spoiled the surprise. They saved Daniel.
Sorry.
And so Daniel gets adopted by this man, and him and this man don't have a last name. So when they're asked, what's your last name? The father looks down at Daniel and says, what's our name? And he says, Summers. So Daniel is the start of the Summers line because he was inspired by Cyclops.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's funny because Scott and Jean are leaving, Scott's like, I feel like we changed something else, but I don't know what. And that's what it was. Scott started his own line indirectly.
That is insane. I love it.
Yeah. And then
How fun.
something else I want to talk about is through all this time that Sinister's been alive, he's touched so many lives in good or bad ways. This wasn't in the comics directly, but he comes across Gregory Rasputin, and he encourages him, you need to fuck a lot of babies. Or not fuck a lot of babies, but make a lot of babies through fucking. You need to make a lot of babies through fucking. Because he knows that the Rasputin line is going to be strong. And that's, of course, where Colossus and Mikhail and Magic come from. He also... in the early 1900s, he encounters Sabretooth and employs him to capture Logan so he can do experiments on Logan, but Logan escapes. He grants shape-shifting abilities to Jacob Shaw. So this is where directly he turned Jacob Shaw into like a mutant-like thing, and Jacob Shaw goes on to father
See?
Sebastian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I talked about he's nicknamed Nosferatu during World War II, and he encounters Max Eisenhardt as a child. Max Eisenhardt is the original name of Magneto. And
Oh.
Max is smart enough to be like, this guy experiments on children. Fuck no. And he runs away. There's also a point where Sinister clones Namor and sets up the clone to battle Cap. And I thought this was really interesting. Sinister eventually goes to America, and he calls for Daniel to come join him in America. And this is where he actually sets Daniel up with Amanda Mueller, who's also a mutant. And this is where he like encourages them to have kids, and he even pays Amanda to pretend she has a miscarriage and give him the baby so that he can experiment on the baby. So this is where the obsession with the Summers line starts. And what was really interesting is when Sinister first sees Cyclops in the Today Times, he remembers, hey, wait a minute, back in 1859, I remember this man shooting
1959?
lasers, or 1859. Yeah, it's a
Oh,
typo.
because this is 1959.
Yeah. He's like,
Okay,
I remember
okay,
in 1859, this man shooting lasers out of his eyes when I turned into Mister Sinister. So that's why he's obsessed with Cyclops.
It's like, why are you obsessed with me? God.
Yeah. So this is what I mean.
At
Like,
least someone likes him besides me.
yeah. So like, I feel like the show did a good job of like nodding to this, but there's so much going on that it's hard to like. They took a very simplistic view of these things. I just wish Apocalypse was involved.
Yeah. I mean, you have to when you have so little time, and especially so little episodes left to get it across.
Yeah.
I get it. But yeah, so much. That's crazy.
So much. All right. After all that history, who's your MXP?
Well, Sinister, Essex, yeah, because he's the star. He's doing all the things. He has the upper hand. He's like, I got away, bitches.
Yeah. There's no one else
So
to give
he's
it
gonna
to.
be doing. Yeah, he's gonna go fuck more shit up like we just saw in the history. So it's him. It's him for sure.
What would you say is the X factor?
I would say just like backstory. Whenever every good X-Men character has a complex, interesting, interconnected backstory, and we get that full scale here. So yeah,
Yeah, I think Mr. Sinister has such a rich backstory that like getting the beginnings of it here and knowing that he's one of the heavy players in 97, like I think this opens up the show a lot. There's even a point where he is like a professor in a college and he's teaching Xavier and Moira McTaggart. So he's like all over the place, girl. The notes for Weapon X were originated from notes that he had. So I think it's going to be fun to explore his history if they do it in the cartoon.
So what about your choices?
It was Mr. Sinister, and my choice is just Mr. Sinister's backstory.
Oh, good. We're on par. Okay.
Yep. All right. For previously on, so this one's a hard one for me, but who is your favorite Sinister clone? Is it Mr. Sinister? Is it Mother Righteous? Is it Orbis Stellaris? Or is it Dr. Stasis?
See, I feel like I just found out about them. I don't know enough about them to judge. I feel. I might look at I'll have to look at the pictures and vote. But I'm just right now. I'm going to say the Mother Righteous because we featured her.
Okay.
But I could change that when we actually get to voting. I'll tell you next week if I voted for that person or changed it. So.
Okay. I'd say I don't know a whole lot about Orbis Stellaris still. Dr. Stasis is that villain you love to hate because he's such an asshole. So it's between Mister Sinister and Mother Righteous to me. It's hard for me not to say Sinister because he's one of my favorite villains since I've been a teenager.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick with him, but Mother Righteous made me think about it. Let's just say that.
Okay.
All right, so next up we have graduation day. So what do you remember? What do you think happens in graduation day?
I remember all the X-Men are there. Like, everybody's there. I remember Magneto is around. Something to do with the fate of mutants. They have to fight, and Lilandra is around. That's all I remember. I don't remember the key moments, but something like that.
Okay. Yeah, this will be our last episode before 97, which I'll remind everybody, 97 is rumored to come out January 3rd. Just from the amount of information we're not getting right now, I kind of doubt that that's going to happen. But
yeah, so we'll see. I mean, hopefully not too long of a wait. So we'll see.
I'm going on IMDb right now to see if they have any like dates or anything. But
I mean, the toys are out. Come on.
Yeah,
if
the
you're
toys
putting
are
toys
out.
out, you have to come out soon.
And just so you know, Sexy Xies, Kevin and I have a plan. If it doesn't come out right away, we're just going to cover some other things that we were planning on covering anyway. Probably before we get into X-Men Evolution, we'll do a few like one-off episodes just until we know a date.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to go into Evolution right now when we know this is on the horizon, you know?
Yeah, we've talked about maybe doing like the Generation X movie, which I'm excited to rewatch because I remember how good it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of one-off
So,
maybe
options.
until like no more, or maybe we will just get into X-Men Evolution. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But for now, you can expect next week we'll do graduation day. The week after, so the 22nd, Kevin's taking a quiz, and then that will close out the original X-Men series.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and it looks like on IMDb it still just says 2024, so no date yet.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Well, where can people find you?
Yes, you can find me on my personal Instagram, KJEEZY87, for all the goodies. And then some. And then you can follow my personal Instagram. I said that already. You can follow you can follow my other podcast, Words of the Witches, where Shawn and I are finishing up the Charmed manga. It's so good. It's magic school. It's just like X-Men, but not.
It's all about,
it's more like Harry Potter than anything.
It's all about Hollowell Academy, which we've always called it that, and we have ever since, obviously.
So, but we have a good time. There's a statue of Winifred Sanderson in it for some reason. So, yeah, go there. It's fun.
Yeah, go there. It's fine. All right, and you can find me on Sean Perrette on Instagram, which will link you to my Threadless, my book, and all our other podcasts. And thank you for listening. We'll graduate with you next week, girls.
Ooh, graduation.
Graduation.
As we go on.
Oh, no.
We remember.
That's got to be the song next week.
Yes. Friends forever.
Oh, and I know the song.
I met Vitamin C.
Oh, did you?
I did.